Good morning, Chris. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing great, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you. I really appreciate your time today. As you know,
Absolutely.
I
Thank you
have,
for having me on.
yes, yeah, no, my pleasure. As you know, I've got a couple questions for you about you and your business. So,
Mhm.
why don't we just start off with you telling me a little bit about your background and what's inspired you to become a franchise consultant?
Yeah, happy to do so. So growing up, I actually had parents that owned small businesses on both sides. I've got divorced
Oh,
parents, remarried, and all sides own small businesses. So I kind of grew up watching that experience really early on throughout my formative years, and it really kind of ingrained just a deep love and passion for entrepreneurship and small businesses in general. And though I don't own and operate a small business myself, I found that passion and outlet helping others kind of achieve that goal. Having spent more than the last decade in the franchise industry now in various capacities, really looking to leverage that knowledge and experience gained to help others make that step into small business ownership. I truly believe that franchising has and is going to remain sort of that primary driver into the world's quintessential American dream these days. Most small businesses struggle after the first year, if they even make it through the first year, whereas franchises, as we know, have a much higher success rate overall. I feel it just offers entrepreneurs and those looking to diversify into small business ownership really a pathway to success that's been proven, tested, and repeatable.
yeah, absolutely. And that's awesome to have that kind of knowledge and experience with both your parents too. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it creates interesting conversations with me. They're
Yeah,
always critical because small business owners always seem to know the right way to do things. So
yeah,
they
yeah, exactly, right?
like to provide their input a lot, which is great.
Yeah. So when it does come to working with clients, what is your process for understanding what their goals and their skills are, and even what their financial needs are before recommending franchise options?
Yeah, yeah. I think it starts with having very meaningful and honest, raw conversations with your clients. Very early on, and I'm sure a lot of us have heard this throughout our lives. That listening has to come first. I mean, you were born with two ears and one mouth for a reason, and you need to use them appropriately in that order. I want my clients to share their experiences. I want to hear their backgrounds. What are their idiosyncrasies about them, and that makes them churn on a daily basis. But I also want to hear what excites them, what makes them fearful, and how do those goals and desires in small business kind of fit into that meld in their vision?
Hmm.
Looking to find out what motivates each client, getting a deep understanding of their why and how that why is driving them to consider a franchise opportunity or investment into a small business as a vertical for their next investment. Every client's different, and every one of them are going to have different wants, different needs, different goals. So I try to take every single client through a very methodical discussion. It can sound a little pedantic and boring on the outside, but I think having those very structured, meaningful conversations with each client helps uncover a lot of the truth behind these goals. And then you can start to put the pieces of the puzzle together little by little and find what brands are going to fit best with whatever that vision is, what are the audacious goals that they're trying to attain versus what's a little bit more realistic in reality for them as far as investment levels, design structure and lifestyle matching.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what you think like might be boring, I think it's all necessary, right, to have those conversations. So
Yeah, absolutely. As I think we've all experienced and seen over the years, the non-sexy business industries in the franchise space
mhm,
tend to be the ones that boom the largest, create the largest returns for franchisees, and have really found a niche kind of market in there. I mean, the home services industry over the last, I'll say, 2 decades has just
mhm,
exploded on the scene. They're not always the sexiest businesses. I mean, drain cleaning and picking up poop is not the sexiest things in the world, but they are phenomenal business models. And
yeah,
I think a lot of our job as consultants is educating clients that the sexy, cool business and retail spot that they drive by and see every day and say, hey, I want that, may not actually be the business that's going to return the level of investment that they're looking for. It may not give them the lifestyle that they're looking for. Whereas some of these other sort of non sexy business models are rightfully fantastic businesses to invest into and can typically offer that client more of a lifestyle that they're desiring out of a small business in a franchise space.
yeah, absolutely. Now, how so with the franchisee thing, we just covered that. Now, how do you evaluate and vet franchises before recommending them to a client? Like, what criteria is most important to you?
Yeah, yeah. Strong financials are great. Don't get me wrong. It's what every business owner strives for. It's absolutely an essential part of finding a good franchise business for a client. But it's one small piece of the greater puzzle, in my opinion.
Right.
I try to dig into the day-to-day life of franchisees in their system. What does that really look like? How much time are they spending? How much effort are they putting forward into avenues of business they may not have comfortability or experience in? Some folks are just not comfortable marketing a business. They're not comfortable doing the social media aspect of it. What does that look like, and how involved is the franchisee on those types of things to build their business? I also then want to dig into the revenue model of the franchise. It's something that's naturally a revolving revenue model, right, from each customer, or a franchise business based on a single transaction, maybe. What does that look like, and how is that revenue generated? And what does the workload really look like for the franchisee? Are they going to be in there day to day cooking, cleaning grease traps, washing out the hoods? Are they going to be the one power washing the side of a house? Maybe. Right. If
Mm,
they don't have the crew that day, or if somebody calls in sick, they're the chief everything officer of their business. And are
yep.
they really wanting to dive into that and get into the muck, so to speak, and actually run the business appropriately? And then I think lastly, it's critically important to gauge the social wellness of the brand. Is there a mission that would connect the prospect maybe more so than another system, perhaps? Good example, child learning centers, for example. They obviously can make massive impacts in the development of a young individual. A gym franchise concept, same thing. They can offer an avenue for clients to truly change their lives, their health, and live longer, healthier lives. But I think it comes down to matching the passion of the client with all the standard business metrics you typically want to look at, and the goals that they have for their franchise investment. Because you really want to match, their lifestyle desires, their goals in business, their investment totals, and then ultimately, what are they looking to get out of this business? Are they trying to stay a single unit? They just want to churn something day in and day out that is not going into a 9 to 5, or they
Hmm.
want to do, more of an empire building type of a structure, and they're looking to gain multiple units, maybe end up buying an entire metro area. So you really have to dig into what does the franchise look like underneath the covers, so to speak,
Yeah.
and then try to start matching that with all the previous conversations you had with your clients.
Yeah. Lots of talking, lots of note taking, and really digging into the person too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and I'll go back to it. I think listening is the absolute most critical piece of it all.
right. Yeah.
Everybody likes to talk about themselves, right? That's that's the easy answer for people. It's truly listening to what that client is saying, though, in those
Yeah.
conversations, right? You can hear
Yeah.
the client. Are you really listening to what they're trying to get through and convey in that conversation?
Hmm. Yeah. So what is an example of a challenging client placement? And then how did you work through it to find them a good franchise fit?
Yeah, yeah. Just recently, in fact, I have a client. They're a former CFO. They've got significant investment potential. However, due to the business acumen and the business experience that this individual had, they sort of looked at the franchise space with a little bit of hesitation.
Hmm.
They figured that due to their experience, and they've had a very, very successful career, they could do most of the business things themselves, and they don't need to be burdened down with franchise fees and monthly royalties and marketing fees and all that kind of stuff. But through a lot more deeper conversations, and getting kind of very personal with this individual and understanding what are your real goals here in business. Could you go out and design an HVAC company yourself? Sure, but what do you know about HVAC, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of digging through all of that, getting them through their perceived fears of the business model and the perceived cost structure that they thought were just overly daunting on these businesses, to finally find a model that really kind of fit the niches that they were comfortable with.
Hmm.
Very happy to say that we were able to find a new emerging concept, and they're
Awesome.
currently deep into the discovery process with this company. But that was one of the more challenging clients I think I maybe have ever faced in my
Yeah.
career, because they just truly didn't think that there was a need for everything that the franchise offered in the business until they saw what everything in that franchise model offered. And they
Yeah.
realized, yeah, I'm not so strong in marketing. Yeah, I'm not so strong in sales. I'm fantastic on the back end working with the books and the numbers.
Yeah.
But all these other things I'm not quite comfortable with. That's where a franchise can be so powerful for individuals like that, because they offer sort of that business in a box structure, right? Now it's just a
Mhm.
matter of getting out and going and doing the work.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. I'm glad that it ended up working out. That's perfect. Now that's a
Yeah,
good
yeah, it
challenge with
matched
a happy
nicely and
ending.
absolutely. Well, hopefully so. Yeah,
Yeah.
at least they're looking.
On the way, yeah. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed. So, how do you tailor your approach for clients with varying financial situations or business backgrounds?
Yeah, I think that whether a client's got significant financial wherewithal, or maybe they're looking for more of a low cost franchise investment just because of their position in life. I try to mimic a very similar discovery pathway for all clients. Try to treat them
Mhm.
all exactly the same. No matter their business level of acumen, I think following the steps of discovery with myself really tells me a lot about whether or not they will have the ability to follow a systematic structure of a franchise. I
Mhm.
heard a long time ago from a mentor of mine, there's a difference between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. And
Mhm.
entrepreneurs make really fantastic franchisees because they like following systems, they're very good at it, and they can still add their own flavor to that system. Whereas, as we all know, entrepreneurs, they want to reinvent the wheel every time they see the thing, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes they really start to push back against the franchise structure and systems and don't always make the best franchise owners in the business.
Yeah.
So I think there's a healthy balance you have to kind of find between the two. And that's how I try to tailor my approach is, very systematic. Can you follow steps 1 through Z to get to the discovery of which franchise opportunities might be the right one for you? If you
Yeah.
can, then I know you're going to be able to follow the discovery process with that franchisor. And subsequently, if you sign the agreement, you're going to follow their playbook in the franchise
Yeah.
operations.
Yeah. Following process, so important. So important. Um, so how about now, like just a story of a particular client that chose the right business for them and has found success? Like, how does that make you feel when you are able to help someone fulfill their dream of getting into business for themselves?
Yeah, yeah. I've been blessed to be in the development world of the franchise space for well over a decade, and I've
Mhm.
placed hundreds of franchise owners in multiple systems. I think for each client, it's a very, very different process. It's a very, very different approach. Very recently here, I have a client who owns a building in a major metropolitan city. And what he and his wife were desiring honestly doesn't exist in the franchise space as they perceived it in their world. And so, again, through a lot of conversation, through a lot of listening, and really getting that picture of what are the two of these folks envisioning going into that retail space and why do they
Mm.
envision that business and how does that interact with their other business goals. We were really able to kind of uncover a couple of brands that operate in a similar type of a fashion, not exactly what they were looking for, but what they were looking for wasn't based necessarily in smart business reality. They were trying to fit a niche in where a niche is going to have a very niche customer base. You need a little bit
Mhm.
more of a broad stroke sometimes. And so, I think through those conversations, we were able to uncover some of the realities there, and getting them into some conversations with brands that can fulfill most of what that picture was of the
Yeah.
exact business they would like. From there, it's a matter of just kind of tailoring that system a bit to fit that model for them.
Mhm. Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Now, how about and I feel like everyone has kind of almost the same answer for this question here, but what are the most common misconceptions that clients have about franchising, and then how would you address that?
Yeah, really good question. I think, maybe one of the most common misperceptions is that franchising is just fast food or retail based. Because obviously the majority of what you see out there are retail storefronts or food franchise concepts out there. But in reality, I mean, franchises span every industry out imaginable. There's somewhere between 3 and 4 thousand registered brands at any given time in the United States operational. And these include everything from service based to B2B businesses, home based models, etc. I think another misconception with franchise prospects is that everything is purely plug and play. You put the business in a box in a space and it just churns itself. Yes, while the reality of that system has been proven, there's still a considerable amount of hard work and leadership that it takes to get that business to profitability and succeed, and then of course
Mhm.
expand from there. I try to address all these misconceptions primarily through educating the client on the various opportunities and the diversity that is the franchise world today and what's available out there. And then what level of effort do they have to put forward to meet the goals that they were looking to make out of these different models.
Hmm.
Um, I also really try to emphasize that, franchising just provides a roadmap, right? With built-in support, significant reduction in risk, lots of assistance and guidance. So don't be afraid to lean on that support structure that's provided by the franchisor systems. That's
Yeah.
a critical component to your success. And when I've talked to some of the most successful franchisees I've ever interacted with, they'll tell you, follow the system, follow the system, follow the system. And I
Yeah.
think that that is so critical to get through to your clients so that when they step in, they understand all the levers they can pull for that help that they need.
Yeah. Good old follow the system. Can't go wrong there, right?
Absolutely.
Good, good. Well, I mean, I really appreciate you taking some time to, chat with me today, and it was great to hear some of your answers and how you, how you kind of hold yourself, in the process and help others. And I like the two ears, one mouth. Make sure you listen, kind of thing. That's something I'll take from this today too, for sure. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right, we'll chat again soon, Chris.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Hello, we've got Chris Davenport here. He is with the FCC. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you today?
I am doing great. So, I've got one burning question here for you.
Looking.
Just tell me, what has your experience been like working with Schoolie Mitchell? And on top of that, what is it about Schoolie Mitchell that makes it so attractive to some of your clients?
I've had the pleasure of getting to know Schoolie Mitchell for many years, having, interacted with their teams at various conferences, things of that nature. And it's always been incredibly positive. They've built a world-class team at this franchisor office. They're a professional, highly reputable cost reduction consulting firm. And the proven systems and support that they offer really, in my mind, makes it a standout franchise opportunity for folks. I think what makes Schoolie Mitchell particularly attractive to some of my clients is, it's a low overhead B2B model. It doesn't require necessarily a physical location or inventory controls, which I find a lot of franchisees, if they're not used to inventory, that's a concern for them, and rightfully so. I think that this business model really appeals to professionals that are looking for a franchise that leverages their true business skill set while offering them flexibility and a little bit of control on how they go about building that business. I think with the services, helping businesses save money on essential expenses that every business is going to face, it's always going to be in demand, which
Mhm.
makes this a very sustainable and, in my opinion, a lucrative choice for the right franchise partners, especially those that have a background in financial accounting sector or just a high level of general business acumen that are
Yep.
looking for something a little bit different out there in the world. They don't desire that retail base. They don't desire, food and inventory and lots of customers coming to retail models. So I'm a big fan of the Schooling Mitchell model. I think it's a fantastic business, and I think the team there is just absolutely world class.
Oh, well, thank you. I really
Absolutely,
appreciate that. Well,
yeah,
yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for answering my question there and taking some time to chat with me quickly here. So, um, yeah, I'll let you go for now. We'll be in touch.
excellent. Thanks so much for having me today. Hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye, Chris.